Alright, I think we're good. We're good. Okay, mic's on. Let's go. Self-dialogue as a journaling strategy. Microsoft Pluton. I have no idea what this is. Shopify to lay off 10% of its workers in broad shakeup. Okay. Interesting. Client-side error has occurred. Alright, let's Shopify. Let's look at the nudes. Oh! Ouch. Ouch, my dude. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, dude. Alright, let's take a look at this. Let's look at their annual report. Let's see what we can glean from it. I'm curious to see if what the heck is going on here. Wait, where's the consolidated financial statements? Wait, what the heck? There should be a table of contents. Hello? Am I crazy here? Audit fees. Off balance sheet arrangement. Okay, none. Good. And report. Okay, great. Risk factor, general developments, additional experts. Where the capital structure? There should be consolidated financials. What the hell? All right, hold up. Let me look for. There should be. And where the hell did it go? Okay, there we go. I cannot believe it. They tried to hide the consolidated sheets for me. Yikes. All right, let's see what we got. Hold up. Let me get the stream out. Okay. So let's see. Last one, they have cash, goodwill. Okay, whatever. Eliminate that. Intangible assets. Eliminate that. So about half a billion. Half a billion? They have 13 billion in assets right now. On the liability side, 13 billion minus 1.5 billion in long term. All right, that's 12 billion. So they have 12 billion in assets, or net book value. So I think that's. Let me write that down. 12 billion dollars in book value. Let's look at the revenues, subscriptions, cost of subscriptions, COVID boost. So revenues went up by 50%, but I think it'd be a mistake for me to assume top line revenue grows at 50% per year. So let's just say like 4.6 billion for now. Cost of revenue is 2.8. So for every 50% I gain here, more than 50% cost of revenue. So this doesn't scale that hot, unless you believe in the blitz scaling theory, which I don't. So, all right, let's just say that for the sake of ease of estimation, that it scales with revenues. So okay, so let's say 4.6 billion, and then 2.4 billion. So then, gross profit is 2.4. Oh, I made a mistake here. So this should be So cost of revenue here is right here, and it scales with revenues. All right, fine. So you have 2.4 billion gross, which is like what? Let's say it's 60% of revenues. Yeah, if I'm doing the math right. Okay, and then operating profits, sales and marketing scales, hard R&D scales, hard. So it basically all these line up where it's like 50%. If I get top line 50%, then I get a little bit like the same amount of operating. So let's say net income from operations here. This is really the only thing that matters. So let's say that's 90 million. Was this 90 million? Yeah, 90 million, 268 million. Yeah, 268 million, 90 million. So 268 million out of out of top line revenue. Jesus. What? That's like 5%. Like 5% margins. Jesus. For a tech company. Yeah, 70% gross and then 5% net. The hell? What is going on? Yeah, 50% gross, 5% net. That is some really bad operating. Oh my god. Okay, let's see what happens here. Other net income, unrealized gains. That just comes out of the price sale of investments. So this is really just a padded number. Really, what you want is these numbers actually. Net interest doesn't. It's like, come on, it doesn't really matter that much. So I would realize. So basically, I'm going to assume that if we just go strictly by operations, you have basically you can basically interpret this as like almost a drop. But let's say conservatively, it's $250 to $300 million a year. Okay. 250 to $300 million a year. Let's look at the cash flow statements. Add back in the stock compensation I don't believe in. Let's see. Okay. So cash flow statement. This is basically the cash that's coming in through the door. They say they have 2.9 million, which I don't believe. They can this is basically, yeah, this gets eliminated here. Income tax deferrable. Okay, whatever. Okay, here we go. My problem with writing off stock-based compensation is that you dilute your existing shareholders. So this is not something that I believe should be added back ever. So if I were going to do this from an operational standpoint, I'd add this back. I would not add this back into the cash flow statement. So basically, you end up with almost a 150 million. Yeah, let's say 150 million. 150 million operating cash flow going on. When you have that high operating expenses and this little cash flow, remember when we look back at the operation costs, like you have 2.4 billion, right? But then you only make cash of like, of like 100 million, 150 million, right? And so these are like razor thin costs. It's like you're basically, if something goes wrong by like even 15-20%, this cash gets wiped out and you start bleeding into your book value. So I think it's kind of interesting here. So if I had to basically put, let's say I had to do a quick valuation on the company, 150 million, and then I said it was 13. Did I say 13 billion in book value? Yeah. So 13 billion book value minus 1.5. So yeah, it's about 11. Let's say 11 billion minus the intangible. So let's say 10 billion, right? 10 billion plus, I don't know, like the revenues. I'm going to assume that they scale by 10% year over year. I don't believe in this 50% top line. There's only so much e-commerce that you can take out. So yeah, that 10x multiplier. I'm going to give them like about 11.5 to $12 billion valuation. So let's see actually what Shopify stock is sitting at. 39 billion. Yeah, so basically it's like 3 to 4x over what I would pay for the business. I think people are still pricing in like 30% year over year growth. I think it's a big mistake. Well, actually, even if I got 30%, even if I added in 30% year over year growth, you still get, I don't think you get anywhere near that. Yeah, no, you really don't. You get nowhere near you get nowhere near 39 billion. At least when I'm looking at this. This is a completely irrational valuation. It's basically like buying Twitter at this point for, what Elon Musk is doing. So I understand. So if we want to understand why Shopify is basically is firing 10% of his workers, it's basically because of the razor thin cash flow. They're operating profitably, right? But and I don't see anything in their book. I have to dig deeper in the footnotes, but to me, the debt can be settled very quickly. It's this razor thin cash flow compared to the cost of revenue that is really killing it, and hence the layoffs. So hopefully that gives you an insight into how I read these statements. Of course, there's like plenty more I can go into. If I really wanted to dig deep, but for me, I think I've done a pretty back of the envelope calculation that's reasonably fair. Yeah, I don't. I'd have to look at the debt dues, and even then, yeah, like even this deferred tax liability, they're gonna owe it, right? But it's such a small amount compared to like their carrying value, their cash and cash equivalents. They're well capitalized, and I think it's mostly because of the IP of whatever IPO that they had in selling stocks, when it was like vastly overpriced. So honestly, good job to the management for doing that. But yeah. All right, let's bring on my client and see what's up. All right.
Hello,
Yo, what up?
what up?
What up?
Nothing much for me at least. Been
Mm-hmm.
practicing and other than that, school and stuff. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I understand that. Um, how how's your practice been since we last chatted?
I'll say that again.
How has your practice been?
It, it's been okay. What I've been doing is I just review my after I do the question. I review my videos. I feel like now that I'm trying to be a little bit more critical. I feel like I'm catching more stuff, but when it comes to fixing it, it's a little bit iffy for me. Then like I don't think in the moment
Mm-hmm.
when I do my questions. So I think in the moment when I do my questions, and then so it becomes a little bit hard to think. Okay, hey, I've done this before. I need to stop it. So then I end up repeating some mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Right, but that's what I mean. It needs to be a habit. It's like, hey, I've seen this before. I made this mistake before. I better not make it again. And that comes with practice, right? But it also comes with like a certain level of awareness. Um, so like, you sent me the revised mental checklist, and I made some comments today.
Oh, okay. Let me check
Yeah.
that out then. Yeah.
So the way I'm reading what you're doing, is that you're mixing in basically what you should be doing for self evaluation and how you should be solving the problem. Those are two different things, right? Um,
Oh, okay.
let me give you an example. So suppose like, I am Michael Jordan, right, and I'm playing basketball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think to myself, okay, I want to do like the windshield wiper move where I pivot to the left, pivot to the right, and then fade away shot, right? That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking about. I shouldn't be also be thinking about, oh, where is the point guard? Where are they? Is Scottie Pippen open at the same time? Usually, you can only focus on like one thing at a time, right? And then catching yourself should be like a little bit of an instinct sort of thing. So, what do I mean by that? Let's say, for instance, am I explaining my thoughts efficiently? You cannot think about whether or not you're explaining your thoughts efficiently while trying to solve the problem. That's just not possible.
Yeah, yeah. I get what you mean with your example and what you just said.
Right.
Now.
But when you go watch the replay, this is a question that you should be asking yourself.
Hmm.
Right. And so
Yeah. Okay.
once you look at the replay and say, "Hey, I am not explaining my thoughts efficiently," then you can rewind that as like, "Okay, why am I not speaking my thoughts efficiently? Because I don't understand the problem. Okay, should I take more time to understand the problem? Should I do more examples in order to prevent that, etc., etc." That's how the replay and rewind works. You have to be a little bit more rational about it and kind of accept the fact that you are human when you are doing the problems, but really make a conscious effort to fix those mistakes. It's like it's like the seatbelt example I gave before, right? If you're driving around not wearing a seatbelt and you get in a car crash, I'm like, and then you fly out the window, I'm like, oh, why did I fly out the window? Because I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Better make sure next time I wear my seatbelt. You might get into a car crash once in a while, but at least you won't like fly out the window and die.
Yeah.
So this is what I mean. You're not your heuristics and what you do should be to put yourself in a situation where you have the highest possible percentage and probability of actually of landing the shot, or in this case solving the problem. So the next thing here, identify methods that won't get you to a solution. I would say this is not a really good way to state it, but I usually think of things in terms of the mistakes that I've made. And in this case, I would distinctly remember the interval problem that we just did last week.
Yeah.
So
The
it's not necessarily identify methods that won't get you to the solution. It's like, okay, so then what? I would literally remember that one example. Like, oh yeah, if I just took the negative space or like took in between the intervals instead of the intervals themselves, I could solve the problem. It's like, what am I not looking at in general? But that can mean so many different things. So it's a little fuzzy, right? But if you think in terms of the mistakes that you made and that you don't want to make ever again, it'll become very easy to memorize this. I think I mentioned this in a previous stream where it's like, oh yeah, it's like it's one thing to read it, study it, learn it, but if you make the mistake, it burns in your mind, or at least it should, if you really care, you know. So that's what I mean. Like you have to feel that pain, and then you should never forget it. So that's what I've been trying to get you to do. Like really take that mistake and really feel that pain, so you never make it again. But all right. If I pause the interview, could I tell what the guy is doing? Same comment as I said before. This one should be done after the interview when you watch your own replay. Too complex, way to simplify it. I would say that belongs under optimization because overly complex code seems like code that can be optimized.
Okay.
Because
overly
if you come with a complex solution and works, it works, right? Then you can parse it down.
Okay. Yeah, I should probably move that to the simplification.
Yeah.
Optimization part.
All right, next one. This is more or less falls under doing useless work, which I think, to me, that's second nature. It's like anything that I'm doing extra that doesn't get me anywhere, I'm not gonna do, or I'm gonna cut out. So I don't need to put it in a list, but sometimes you might put it in your list. You know, it might not be second nature to you, so that's fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But it's just more of a, am I doing overly complicated work, or am I doing work that doesn't make sense? So this is what I mean by everyone's list is gonna be different.
Yeah, I get what you mean by that. Yeah, this is more. I find it by mental checklist to be some like part reminders and part what I should be doing.
Okay.
In the situation currently.
That's fine. But keep in mind, like when it comes time to actually doing it, there's gonna be like a big 80% of it's gonna be instinct, 20% of it's gonna be actually the checklist itself. Or it depends on how what kind of problem you get. But for the most part, you should be like if I'll do it afterwards. But let's say I optimized your checklist, it will fit on like half a page. I guarantee. Okay. I'm pretty sure it will fit on half a page. So if I find the solution behind find level, same thing as I said above. That's a little bit weird way to write it. So if the test the solution with example, let's go in order. There's just one of many ways to test it. Here's the thing. Like, there's tests by cases, there's tests by examples, there's tests by a bunch of different ways of doing these to bulletproof your solution. I only bring up cases because that's, like, the easiest one to explain.
What other ways are there to test it other than with examples?
Branch logic.
Is that by cases?
No, I mean, that is also a case. That's also cases if that's the way you want to think about it. But then, tree is also a test by cases. It can mean different things to different people, but I call it branch because what if I want to do, like, a for loop as well?
Okay, yeah.
Some of these overlap, don't get me wrong. But it's just a way for people to remember it however way you want to remember it.
Okay, yeah.
Address the inefficiencies, scale out the algorithm. I feel like there's a little bit of repeat. Solution is correct. This one's weird. The reason why is because, you're doing so many checks for the algorithm, it's that at some point you just end up hashing out the details by nature. Or at least it should be. Then again, that's my own perspective.
Well, yeah, my logic when doing this was like, okay, we state the high-level solution, and then we state the high-level solution using these steps, and then as soon as the high level is okay, then we'll start hashing it out to be a bit better. But I get what you mean by if we're doing it correctly, then it should already be a little bit hashed out, our solution.
Right, because let's say, for instance, I have my algorithm and I'm doing X, Y, Z, I'm going to start writing some of the details, right? And obviously some of these details, when I first propose them, are going to be shit and are going to need to be revised anyway. So it's just like, just imagine it more as an iterative process. Again, I can't really give you the intuition behind it. That's going to come with practice, right? So.
Yeah. What would you say about pseudocode then? Would I be actually doing pseudocode in the interview
if it helps
now
you.
or? If it helps you, yeah, okay.
I would say I would try to stay away from it, but if you still feel like you need it, then probably use it. But
Okay.
the ELI 5 exercise should have gotten you to basically you basically would speak pseudocode at that point. But if you feel like you're not there yet, then you're not there yet.
Okay.
It's whatever
Okay.
you're comfortable with at this point. There's not too much I can do to you for the next 3 days. But I'm going to say one thing though. Even though you do this entire list and whatever, you might feel like, oh yeah, I did the exercise Edward told me to. The fact of the matter is that not only do you have to commit it to instinct and memory, but also that it gets pretty much thrown out by the when you actually do the problem. Like, don't get me wrong, like these actually do apply. It's just might not be in the order that you put it in. And so,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This is just an organization. Yes. Not. I won't really remember it in this order. Is
sure.
what I'm saying.
Not just that, it's also that at some point some of these don't even apply, or you might actually have to you might have to like abandon it and do something else, you know. And when it comes down to the problem, that's basically how it always is, you know. Like when you plan something X Y Z, blah blah blah, but then when it
Yeah.
comes time to actually executing on it, do you really get it? Because these
Yeah.
are because in the abstract, big in the big realm of these things, these are just words on a paper.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's like you might say, "Oh yeah, I know what I'm doing," da 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 da. But if you can't shoot the ball when it comes time to play, then it doesn't matter how much. It doesn't matter what you say. And that's a real test of like whether or not you're full of shit. You know, it's like you can talk, but then show me some results. You know.
Yeah. Show some substance in the words
Exactly.
or actions.
And then after
Yeah.
switches found hash out and implemented, it seems like it's a repeat here. So let me show you exactly what I mean by oh yeah, if I were to eliminate all the inefficient ways of doing this list.
Okay.
Let me just do it at the top just for the sake of brevity. So let's say if this was me, I'm gonna chunk this out. I'm gonna say invert the problem. I already know what this means, so I'm gonna do that. If I pause the interview, don't need this. Certain branches of logic. Am I doing repeated work? This is just an inefficiency. Yeah, optimize test solution with examples, test by cases. Solution fast. I would say this is iterate. I would literally just call this iterate. Iterate over if need be. How do I address the inefficiencies? This one should already be here because you already have inefficiencies here. I would call them one and the same. If I'm already addressing inefficiencies, then I should already have an answer. Make sure you say usually logical. This one again should just be second nature, and because it's kind of already up here, as same as ELI 5, right? Because it's not just description should be ELI 5. Every step should be ELI 5. So I can eliminate this. ELI 5 everything, reasonably correct, simple to understand. Do I understand it? If I don't understand, usually think about inefficiencies. Yeah. Have I come with do I even understand what the fuck I'm talking about? Do I have to be interviewer? So after that, hash out and implement it. Of course, implement it. I don't need to do that. Iterate over if need be. Repeat finding high level solution if the solution revised solution, which is basically this. And yeah, so this is like my understanding of it, which is if I'm gonna have an 8.5 paper, then yeah, this is basically about this is about half a page.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it must have a reason.
Half a page is good size for a mental checklist, right?
Yeah.
After it being simplified.
But again, some of these should be instinct, at least to me. Like even if I want to strip this out even more, must have a reason for why I'm doing it. It's just basically a repeat of make sure every step is easily explainable and understood. This is literally just a repeat of this.
Yeah.
These are all literally just repeats, and you can see here like the list just basically comes down shorter and shorter and shorter, and just boils down to all the shit that we've talked about. It's like, have I come up with a brute force solution? Yeah, I always come up with a brute force solution. How would I come up with a solution? Invert the problem. Well, there's also other ways to do it, right? Throw examples at it, etc., etc. Test by cases, repeated work, inefficiencies. It's basically just boils down to everything that we've talked about, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I feel never mind. I wasn't going anywhere with that.
That's fine, whatever. And all these different things I've been mentioning and talking about have just been an exercise in just trying to get you to just do all these and make it a habit.
Yeah. Yeah, so far when I solve my problems, I usually go from brute force to then writing down all the efficiencies I can take care of. I'm thinking of, but then I remember one question, I forgot to write down some of the optimizations I was thinking of. too. I wrote down the optimization to solve the specific problem,
Mm-hmm.
the specific inefficiency I was trying to solve, but then I forgot to write down additional optimizations that would be a good idea that doesn't exactly address the inefficiency I wrote down. And then I just forgot to implement it after. That
Right.
kind of stuff.
Right. So this is what I mean by if you didn't write it down, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So you see, like how everything I've mentioned before in the past just keeps coming up. It's basically the things we're mentioning are literally just ways to get you back on track. And it's like even though you say, "Oh yeah, I do this, but it's like the one thing you really struggled with is optimization. And a big one is do you even understand what the fuck you're talking about and the brute force solution that you proposed?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a big sour point for you, I think. And so that's the part I don't understand what's going on. It's like if you say something, you should understand what's going on, why it exists. And I think we mentioned it before that a big part of it was I think you were just memorizing a lot of solutions instead of trying to understand the logic behind it. And that's where like the disconnect comes in. But that's me, and if you can get over that, I think it'll be a big jump. But I don't know how much we can do in the next 3 days to do that.
I'll try my best. Yeah.
But
I think
mhm.
the brute force. I guess I understand it, but I'm misunderstanding either some of the inefficiencies or how to explain it. The way to optimize it.
If you understand it, then
I
you'll
should
at
be
least
able to
solve the problem. You might not be able to explain it, but you'll solve the problem. If you don't understand it, you won't solve the problem. So I would bet more that you actually don't get it. But
Okay.
again, if you understand where the logic is, if you understand this logic behind step by step and why things are the way they are, and how you progress through the problem, then it should come naturally. And this is the part I think this, like I said, because you memorize answers and really weird scenarios instead of trying to do things logically. That's what kills you.
Yeah. I also feel there's generic brute force solutions that then it gets me to question, okay, I have the brute force solution, and then how do I optimize this? Because this is just like a generic brute force method. I don't know how to optimize it, I guess. But I guess that comes down to me memorizing random stupid facts.
Yeah, you memorize random stupid facts. You're gonna throw random stupid facts at it, and you don't understand why they work, but they work and whatever. That pretty accurately describes what the heck you're doing. Remember when we're doing like EPI reverse engineering, we're trying to see okay, what are the facts that they changed, or what was the observation that they had that allowed us to do X and Y, that go from point A to point B, right? And you decided, and what you did was instead of looking at the characteristics, you just throw random facts on it because the things you learned were problem specific. And so that's what I'm trying to get you out of. It's like no, don't memorize problem specific facts. You should remember, hey, because I see 2 pointers, I can think automatically that there may be a sliding window or two pointer solution. And just remember the other week you said my instinct screaming hash. It's like yeah, your instinct is probably right. Now how do I get there?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't figure out how to get there, then that means that there's some issue with like your ability to understand step by step stuff. Your instinct is probably right, but it's just that it doesn't matter if the interviewer can't follow it and you don't understand.
Yeah, that's what I feel sometimes.
Yeah, but the thing is that your instinct might be right, but it's like your explanation is going to be dog shit. And if it turns out your instinct is wrong, you're completely fucked.
Yeah, if I can't explain it, there's like no point to the instinct part.
Right, and turning the instinct is fine, but it's like, again, you have to understand the logic behind it as well. And that's why I always go back to is logical, step by step. There's no such thing as magic bullets in you.
Yeah. Okay. I think, yeah. No, I get what you mean.
All right. Do you have a practice diary entry you want to show me?
Yeah. So generally now, I've just stopped copy pasting the pseudocode and the code essentially in my branches in my comments, and I just write the analysis instead of the error comment / thoughts section.
Okay.
Because then I realize I don't really look at the code at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah. So first one I want to look at is not that one, not that one. Actually, that one's okay. Minimum night moves 272. Gross 272.
Okay. Okay, 15, 20, not. Okay, so you said there's a 24-minute question. All right, let's see. Is this EPI?
No, this is a leak code
I
question.
keep telling you, don't do the leak code one. Why do you keep doing it?
Cause I tried doing some. I mean, I ran out of questions EPI, but I'm
Really?
still
So
on
if I picked a
the.
random, so you're telling me if I picked a random EPI problem, you'd be able to pass it?
Not. I didn't finish the honors class yet, but I'm in the middle of it. But I've solved up to chapters, arrays to end of graphs.
I mean, this one I'm talking about. Like, I can tell you what to do, but I can't make you do it.
Yeah.
So it's like if you still decide to ignore it, like whatever, man. That's on you.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see. All right, let's look at two-night problem. Okay, subscribe to unlock. Jesus Christ.
Oh, was it?
All right, let me just
Okay.
Google it and minimum night moves on it. All right, I'm gonna use interview bit or whatever. I just need to see the problem.
I
Given
can.
any source C and D, destination E and F, we need to find out whether or not the knight can move to a destination point. Okay. Okay, minimum number. If it's possible, then what's the minimum number of steps for the knight to move to the set point? If the knight cannot move to the source set point, then return -1. Knight cannot go out of the board. Okay. Constraints F500. A, B, C, D, E, F. The first argument of the input contains integer A. Second argument input contains integer B. Chessboard's A, B, it's 8B. C and D is initially at position C, D, and then EF is the position you want to go to. Okay, cool. I understand the problem now. Read problem, write down high-level idea, explain a high-level idea with examples, continue writing down high-level idea, maybe write down first. Okay. Yeah, okay, writing down ideas for inefficiency. Yeah, without the actual thing that you wrote down, I can't tell what if you're doing is right or wrong.
Yeah, so let me copy paste that then into the
Which doc?
So then I put it,
Where did
not
you
the doc. Do you want me to put in the diary entry or just the prep doc? Is fine.
Let's
Or
do it in the diary entry for now.
Okay. Diary entry. Okay, I'll place it below. Okay, it should be there.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so you're coming up, so you're writing down ideas for inefficiency. Okay, so you say create a graph with nodes being valid knight coordinates and an edge to see if knight can move. Stop creating the graph when edge nodes exceed x and y. So you start 0, 0, edges, do breadth first search to find the minimum number of steps. Alright, first things first, does this even make sense to you?
What do you mean? Which part? The code or the diary entry?
So the one I just read out. Create the graph with a node being valid knight coordinate and edge existed that I can move to from court to destination edges. What does that make sense to you if I'm the person walking into the interview?
Yeah, so that was the point where I just started to describe the example in the middle, right after explaining the high-level idea, which was the 0, 0, and the edges being 2, 1 to -1. What was that?
Did what you just say make sense?
Yes, not.
So when you grade yourself, that's literally the first thing I would put down. Let's see, did you put it down? I don't. Yeah, you didn't write. I don't think you didn't write it down.
So not explaining things efficiently, you mean?
This doesn't even make sense. So the question now you have to ask yourself is, why am I writing shit that doesn't make sense? That seems like a very obvious mistake to me.
Yeah.
And let's go back to the checklist, right?
The nodes to me it makes sense because it means the nodes being valid night coordinates, as in the nodes are 2 1 to -1. If a knight can move there, then it's a valid node. Like if a knight can reach that coordinate, it's a valid node. It's a node.
Okay. But then you only have this node and this edge, or these you have this node, and you have this coordinate node, and then you have these edges, right?
Yeah, this coordinate
Is
0
this
0.
graph exhaustive? Or is it
No, it's
just
not exhaustive. It's just for the first step. This for 0 0, that's every coordinate it can move to in one step.
okay? So create a graph with nodes being okay, and then
Because we start at 0 0, I reference it as a coordinate because it's 0 0.
okay,
And
I see. Okay, fine. Okay, do BFS on the graph to find the minimum number of steps. But then okay, so then now you have the edges, right? Then okay, so it is an exhaustive graph actually.
for one iteration, for one move,
Wait,
then
okay,
yeah.
so then how does your naive answer get me to the? How does it get me to the answer then? If you only have this central node and then these edges, how does it get me to the answer?
So we would create the neighboring nodes, right? We would create 2 1 to -1, 1 2 as the neighboring nodes of 0 0, and then we would keep doing that until we exceed xy, which is just some random digits they give us.
Okay, so you have 0 0 2 1. Is that it?
0. Say that again.
So you have 0 0 and then 2 1.
Yeah, because 0 0 can move to two coordinates 2 1
Okay.
in a night move.
Okay, but is there a n number of moves caveat here, or is it just? Okay, so I see what you're doing. Fine. What's the minimum? Well, the thing is that what's the minimum number of steps of the knight to move to that point? It's not just the immediate move, right?
Yeah, so that's why we do breadth first search after we create the graph, and then that would find
you just
us
told me your graph is just 0 0 to 2 1, right? And then
yeah, but then after that we would do 2 1, and then we apply all the edges the transformations again on 2 1. So then it'd be like
okay.
4 2.
Okay, but where in if I had to, but if you read that in your top level description, is that anywhere near there? Could I extrapolate what you just said from that? If I read your top level description.
I mean, to me, it makes some sense.
So create a graph with no. I'm going to follow the letter of the. I'm going to follow exactly what this is, right? Create a graph with nodes being valid knight coordinates and edges exist if the knight can move from current coordinates to destination coordinates. Okay, I created this. Stop creating graph when node coordinates create x and y. Okay, I understand that to mean that you're going to remove all the negatives here, right? But then do BFS on the graph to find the minimum number of steps. But this is all I've done so far, per the letter of what you just said.
Say that again.
I am just following the word for word what you just said, right? Create a graph with nodes being valid knight coordinates and an edge. You know, let me share my screen and then it'll make more sense. Because I can show you exactly what I'm highlighting. Can you see this?
Yeah, I see your screen now.
Cool. Create a graph with nodes being valid knight coordinates and an edge exists if the knight can move from the current coordinate to the destination coordinate. So I have 0 0, 2 1, 1 2, all these edges, -1, comma 2, right? And so on and so on, whatever. Stop creating graph when node coordinates exceed x and y. So in other words, because I've hit this, I've stopped. And then you do
what is your x and y?
Huh?
What's your x and y?
Your x and y is 0, right? You started from here. This is your example.
No. X y is the destination we're supposed to reach. 0 0 is the origin point that we start at.
Okay, so let's say I put in like 8 8.
Okay.
And create a so I'm going to follow again exactly the letter of what you wrote. Create a
Okay.
graph with nodes being valid knight coordinates, and an edge exists if the knight can move from current coordinate to destination's coordinates. So this is the only places the knight can move, right?
I can still move to the other spots. 2, -1, 1, 2, 1, -2,
But you said
-1,
here's
2.
what happened.
I meant I should explain what exceed means then. I guess I meant.
I am
No,
literally just following what you wrote
Yeah.
down. Would you agree, or am I being unfair here?
No, you're writing what I did.
I'm
I
literally
should.
just following exactly word for word.
Mm-hmm.
So that should strike you as a very it's like you. It should strike you as a very obvious mistake because if I literally took, remember, interviewer walking to the room, can't read your mind, just gonna read exactly what's on the board, and follow it exactly. This is why I got confused.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, feel free, anyone in the stream, just feel free to fucking correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the way I interpreted it exactly. And you notice how difficult it was for me to like really go back and forth with you on this, because it didn't match. The reason why is because it didn't match up with what you wrote down.
Yeah. How would you describe this then?
So if I were going to do exactly what you just said, I would say start with the start destination, right? And then for every single possible move that the knight can move to, create those nodes, right? And then prune the nodes that are in valid positions. Makes sense so far? Then for every single node that is valid, go into that node and repeat the same process where I create the valid moves that are possible from that position, you know. And then after that, like, oh, I realized, wait a minute, some of these nodes can be visited. Then I would add a step that says, hey, if this node hasn't been visited, sort of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But you see here, like, I literally describe step by step exactly what's going on, but it's still somewhat high level, right?
Yeah.
And there's very little room for ambiguity. I mean, tell me that you're free to tell me if that was still ambiguous for you.
No, that makes sense. The parts, yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering, would you write exactly down though? Because usually I try to summarize what I write. I guess then it comes less confusing when I do try to summarize what I write.
Well, this is pseudocode, right? For me, let's say if I'm writing it down, right? Let's say start create a node with init position, right? And then for every possible position the knight can go from init, then create a adjacent node, right? And then prune invalid positions, and then for all valid positions, repeat algorithm, or recurse. And then here I'd realize, oh wait a minute, if visited, return, some shit like this, and then for all valid positions, there you go, and then obviously I'd add more details after this.
Yeah, so that would essentially be your high-level description then.
Right. But this is like it's my pseudocode. But it is my high-level description as well because it's easily understood.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it doubles as that. Okay, yeah.
I mean, the pseudocode is not a hard and fast rule, right? It's literally just, hey, what is it gonna take for the person to really understand what I'm doing here? It's just it kind of resembles code, sure, but it also doubles as a shorthand for interviewing, for talking, because like these are all phrases. These are all English phrases that anyone can understand and can be code agnostic.
Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. I sometimes do that too.
It's fine to do this as, again, the point is to convey the information to the interviewer in a way that they understand. ELI 5. I think this is very much ELI 5.
Yeah.
But then it's like if I asked a 5-year-old, again, like maybe I'm wrong here, but if I asked a 5-year-old to describe exactly what the hell is going on here, they might be wrong, and feel free to test it with like someone like your roommate or whatever. Hey, could you understand? Like, what do you think this means?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's part. Like, you can summarize it all you want, but it's like if the other person doesn't understand it, then what the fuck?
No point in summarizing what you don't understand.
Yeah, it's like I might as well be speaking Greek here. Anyway, in the first, create the graph and traverse it, 2 paths essentially. I would say, the moment I wrote that, remember I said that's like your trigger word?
Yeah.
I would literally be highlighting, I'd be on the edge of my seat right now, if I said that. So
I mean, at that point, I knew what I was doing, though.
Okay, if you knew, you said you knew what you're doing, okay. But then I would, it's just like, like I said, it would be something I would be on my toes for.
On the lookout. Yeah.
When I go on the replay, because I know that is something that I've mentioned to you before. This is something that you need to look out for. So at this point in the replay, if I was watching, I'd be very, very careful. So maybe create the graph as we traverse the valid night coordinates. Okay, so the question now is you're creating the graph and traversing it. So in other words, you have runtime complexity and space-time complexity, right? You have space and time complexity here. So in other words, based on this, which one do you think it would be easier to, handle?
The space or time complexity, you mean?
Out of the two, which one do you think is easier?
I say that again?
Out of the two, which one do you think is easier to actually reduce?
Optimize?
Optimize, yes.
Okay, run space in general or just for the specific
This
question?
specific problem.
Okay.
Which one's the most obvious?
Probably the space one, because you don't really, as you're creating the edges, as you're creating the edges, you can already know if you can visit that node or not.
As you create the edges, you already know if you have visited or not.
Okay, let me reword one word. If you have already created that node, you know that the knight can visit that node already, so there's no point of creating the entire graph when you can just see if you visited that coordinate.
Okay. So here's where it gets interesting. So let's take that to a logical conclusion, which means let's invert it. This would imply that your original idea had a bug where you could potentially have an infinite loop because you're going to visit a node that you visited before and restart the whole damn thing.
No, you would still keep track of the visited. It's just that instead of creating the graph, the entire graph, you would just create it as you go.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, that's fine. Okay, got it. Now I understand what you're saying. So you're creating instead of creating as the entire thing, you create as you go. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Which means that the whole thing I did was already pre-optimized actually. But whatever. So it's fine. I understand what you're saying now. So then now, what are you gonna do about it? That's the first thing. So then apply transformation. Maybe create the graph as we traverse. Good. Apply transformation on nights, move to coordinates, so we don't have to create the graph beforehand. So it took you 9 minutes to flesh out some efficiencies, testing out the ideas. Okay. So then this is doing stuff inside your head, very bad. Testing out ideas with given example, fine. I have no problem with that. Transformation queue. Okay. The thing is that you don't need to go full on, right? And I think that for what you just described, I think it's very obvious that it would work.
Okay.
But, okay. So then it's fine here. Apply night transformation to all coordinates in queue. Stop creating queue when coordinates pop queue. Where's your visitor?
To make this a little bit better, I didn't actually type in all those elements inside the queue. It was essentially just transformations I copy pasted.
That's fine. This is not what's killing you, by the way. If it's typing things out, typing this is only take you 10 seconds. That's not gonna kill you.
Okay. Yeah.
What kills me?
The initial time it took me like around 30 seconds to create it, but I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's like if you can optimize things, there's certain things you can optimize, but then you also give up the stability of your approach as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we want to avoid. We want to get the free lunches before, and the most highest expected probability wins. Like wrong small, right big. Before we start like saying, okay, well we need to cut further, right? If I'm it's like you want to be. God, what's a good way to describe it? If I want to reduce load on a car, right? I want to make a car lighter if I'm modding it, right? I'm like, okay, well let's take away, the padding on the seats. Probably not gonna matter that much, right? Let's take out all the plastic on the center console. Doesn't matter. I gets me just A and B, right? But the moment I start taking out the seat belts and just removing that, we got some problems.
Yeah, I mean, my first thought when modding a car is probably replace some of the materials with a lighter material.
Exactly. Those are free wins, right? Because it doesn't affect the safety of the passenger. It gets you lighter and it gets you where you want to go without like killing your entire thing, right?
Yeah.
But the moment you start removing seatbelts in order to try getting 1 pound lighter, you got some problems.
Yeah.
So think of it like that. So get the obvious shit before you start dealing with like weird shit. Anyway, so okay, I stop creating graph, pop from Q, and check up coordinates x and y and return steps. Okay, so apply transformation, night, so all coordinates in Q. Okay, that's fine. Now, do you also this is where I would start asking myself, hey, I need something more? This is where I would ask like the visited shit.
What you mean the visit if when I revisit nodes?
Yeah, because
cycles?
again, throw the guy walking into the room test again.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be the most obvious thing that he would point out?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that was me doing stuff in my head, also assuming because when my initial solution, it said when I wrote my initial solution, it said do BFS, and assuming they know BFS, you use the standard queue, visited, and I shouldn't have done that.
Well, the thing is that BFS, you can assume they know BFS. That's fine. The visited thing is probably you might want to explicitly add it because it's the reason why it's a free win is because it's just one if statement, right? It's
Yeah.
and it also prevents you from forgetting that when you write out the code. Because I can tell you I've made that mistake several times where like, oh yeah, I forgot the backtrack, yeah, I forgot the visited, and I'll write that shit down every single time because I've made that mistake so many times. It's burned in my mind.
Okay.
But that's just
All right.
me. But again, it's like it has to burn in your mind in order for you to do it.
Yeah, just one line to add it. I add visited nodes to a set.
Okay.
Or keep a track of visited nodes.
It's like, let's try this. This should never happen in mind. You have bad attitude, but originally put down this heuristic of this bad. Learn to reason through your ideas and write down your code as if in the test. Your heuristic also sucks ass. You forgot an X one negative value. Heuristic one.
Oh yeah,
heuristic,
that's
yeah. Yeah. So this is also like, oh yeah, what are all the other shit that I need to do? It's like, hey, don't add shit into the queue if it's an invalid position.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just check it at the top, right? You can just say, hey.
Yeah, well, we won't ever be adding invalid positions, because we're only transforming upon valid positions. We're only applying valid transformations upon valid positions. So the invalid positions won't happen.
Right. So what I'm saying is that you can just add that check here. In theory, you could do it. Yeah.
I get what you mean, though. Yeah.
Exactly. Because that way, the reason why I would do it here is because you separate responsibilities. Instead of having to do it inside the loop and do that, I would just do it out here, because that is less things I need to worry about inside an if statement. But again, that's a heuristic that I have done because I made those mistakes. I just thought about, okay, I'm doing way too much shit inside this if statement. In order to avoid that, I'm just gonna do this, and that comes from me watching my own replays and understanding, hey, I'm prone to this kind of fuck up.
Yeah.
But again, everyone's gonna have their own different things. So overall, it's fine. Where I'm looking at your time, I think this should have been like a 20-minute question for you. Could you write down high level idea? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's because I added my visited in the wrong place. Well, not wrong place, but it was the wrong place.
Right. So in other words, it's if you spent like 10 seconds just. The lesson you should learn from this is that if I spent 10 seconds just writing those flags in here, then that would have saved me like probably 5 minutes.
Yeah, I guess I still don't understand too well the solution because the visited, essentially, I got my solution is just time limit exceeded. So yeah, essentially my solution was a time limit exceeded, and to get rid of that time limit exceeded, I just add the coordinates to my visited as I create them instead of adding them when I pop them from the queue. So that saves some time.
Okay, yeah. So let's think about that. So let's say we went. You say you added visited to your queue.
Oh no. So yeah, you can get rid of that line you're highlighting right there.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the more optimized one. But I had both when I submitted it.
Okay, that's fine. So the question now becomes, why did we need this? Why does this work first?
That's because we're when we pop the node, essentially we're visiting everything anyway. So when we pop it, we can add it to the.
But why did this solve your What's it
No,
called?
that didn't solve it.
What?
The inside the inner for loop solved it. The visit inside. The
Okay, yeah, this one solved it, but then you need to ask yourself, this should have been very obvious, because once you visit it, you don't need to visit it again. Remember what I said before about oh yeah, you have an infinite loop?
Yeah.
This is literally a symptom of that.
You see yeah, you might want to tab in the visit that you're on.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
So you want me to, yeah, this is, remember how I said before that, hey, the implication of what you just said was that you have a bug where you could have potentially an infinite loop?
I mean, it wasn't infinite. It was more taking too much time.
Really? So does that mean that I won't be able to? So you said that you had this visited where?
No. So the original visited was right after cur x under cur. That was the original visited.
Okay. No, this would okay. Here's the reason. You can walk through the code, and if you never, this means that you only ever call visited once, right? Which is
no. I call it visited every time I pop from the queue. I add it to the queue every time I pop it. I guess the indentation's a little bit weird here.
Okay, so you're saying that this is actually what it should look like? Are you saying this is what it should look like?
Yeah, tab in the visited one more time. The bottom one. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So, okay, so then the question now becomes, why did you miss this optimization? And you said you didn't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand it too well, because I understand it's an optimization, but I understand why it doesn't make that much of a time difference, is what I'm saying. Okay. How does it make that much of a time difference?
Well, this is a mistake that you should definitely try and look and understand, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's see. Cur x, cur y, pop left. Okay, so you're declaring this as visited.
Yeah.
The initial one. Okay, and if cur x equals cur y equals y, then hey, we found it already. Okay. And then for every single element in that transformations, and then you append it to the queue, and then you say you've already visited it, versus whenever you've popped it. Okay, so in other words, the only difference here is that you've missed it, right? You missed the initial one, I would say.
No, my initial
do you know why?
Yeah,
do you know? Wait, slow down.
Sorry.
If I say I start off at 0, 0, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's do your first. This is the one. This is the right one. This the wrong one, right?
Opposite.
Okay, this one's the right one.
No, opposite.
Okay, this one's the wrong one. Okay. Wrong one, and then this one's the right one. Correct? Right? I got this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then yeah, you actually would have 0, 0 in there, then okay. But this, yeah, like this detail should actually be highlighted. You should already come with this. You see how like it's getting difficult. I had to tease this out for like 10 minutes for you, and you should have immediately done this work yourself. Anyway, cur wrong one. If cur x cur y, then return these steps. Okay. So the question is why is this the right one? Q append. Okay. Where's your out of bounds check again?
Huh? The out of bounds check. Out of bounds check. Did I paste the wrong one? Out of bounds check is. I guess I don't really have one in this one.
You probably should have. I think that would have gotten you more. That would have definitely gotten you further actually. Because if you just check.
I initially tried an out of bounds check because when it exceeds from y, but then like in that heuristic that I tried, it didn't really work out too well. If I do like negative x less than or equal to my current coordinates and less than or equal to x. Because then
you could have added it here. You could have added it in here as well.
No, I'm saying the out of bounds check didn't work too well.
I have a hard time believing that.
I
have a hard time believing that actually.
Cause I mean, unless I did some pre-processing with x and y, which I didn't think of, the out of bounds check didn't work too well because, okay, we can still the minimum number of steps to reach x and y might be exceeding x and y and then coming back to x and y.
But you can never move off the board. That doesn't make
It's an
sense.
infinite chessboard, though.
No, it's not. By definition, it literally tells you the size of the board is A times B.
Wait, go back up. Are we reading the same question?
I'm using the one from Interview Bit.
Well, no. Go back to the question and like the top description.
This one. Knight on a chessboard, right?
No, I said mine's minimum knight moves.
Okay, minimum knight moves. That's why I hate LeetCode, dude. Back to these problems.
I didn't pick. Yeah.
Okay. Subscribe to unlock. Whatever minimum type. Okay, you have infinite. Okay, I see. You have an infinite number of moves. Okay, I see now. All right. Okay. Yeah. Fine. So then the question now becomes don't. So okay, so there's no out of bounds. There's no out of bounds position. It could always be infinite.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question now becomes why is this the wrong one versus why is this the right one? Q appendix. Oh, I see. So the reason why is so that we don't add it twice. So
I get. What do you mean by added?
So let's say my Q has like, you know, let's say 0, 0, right? Then I can potentially have 2, 1, right?
Yeah.
And then let's say, you know, some other element in my Q potentially could be like, you know, 4, 2.
Oh, I get what you mean now.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Okay, yeah.
And so you've added 2, 1 twice.
Yeah, and that just becomes too much time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the question now is like, why didn't you see that?
Yeah, why didn't I see that?
This is gonna be part of like, hey, how do I bulletproof my solution? How do I make sure I'm doing the right thing, wrong thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I followed too much of a template, and I followed a template without thinking.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you have that tendency of, yeah, I'll remember it the next time. No, you won't, because it needs to hurt so badly you'll never want to make the mistake again, and you won't have that yeah attitude, you know? So, but yeah, this is something that you're going to need to think about, figure out why. But all I did here was, okay, when I thought about it, I just thought, okay, what's the difference between this and this? Well, the only difference is that it has to be in the queue before I pop it out, right? So and then working backwards from there, all I thought, like, okay, is can I ever get to a state where I can add them twice? It's like, okay, let's test it out. Oh yeah, there is a way. Because you know, there's no guarantee to the order in which you're visiting them, right? When you go sufficiently far enough with like breadth first search, you will not make any guarantees. So.
Okay. Yeah. I guess. How do I say? Yeah. I guess I can do it. I can argue for correctness, but for that optimization, I kind of ruined it. Optimization, I failed on that part. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you basically the optimization is one, and then also the visited one is the other one. So that's where your 5 minutes went. I'm pretty sure.
Essentially, that's where 5 minutes went.
Yeah. So now the question now becomes, what are you going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again? What do you need to do?
Other than changing out my breadth first search template, I can think. I need to ingrain in myself when to look for cycles, I guess, like repeating when I'm doing repeated work.
I would literally classify this as a flag, actually, because, you know, visit is a flag, some other flag, you know.
Yeah.
And whenever I have flags, I always make an explicit call to make sure I write them down, because I noticed that in myself.
What do you mean by flags?
Visit is a flag, right?
Yeah.
If it's like a check if this flag is turned on and off, I will always put that in the pseudocode because I know I will fuck that up. That's just me. Any exit conditions, any flag checks, anything, I will put that in the pseudocode because I know I will mess that up. So that's like what I would have done here. But yeah, like again, like even though I'm telling you the answer, you have to be able to do this yourself. Mm-hmm. Like notice, like all I said at the beginning was, hey, you have an infinite cycle. That might be a trap, you know. Maybe you want to explicitly call that out. And it didn't take long for it to, oh yeah, this is actually what killed me. Oh, if you called it out beforehand, you would have avoided it. It's almost like I didn't even have to hear what your inefficiency was or what killed you. Like I just immediately knew, hey, that's a trap that I've made before.
So recognizing old traps.
Yeah, exactly. I've made the mistake before. I can't tell you which problems I did it in, but I know I've made it enough times to never want to make it again. So that's what I mean by being able to recognize it. You have to want to never make those mistakes again. And I get the feeling that you've probably made this mistake before.
Yeah, I remember making this mistake before.
And what if you remember it, do you remember what your quote-unquote solution to it was to avoid it?
I mean, other than I just tagged it as, oh, this is specific knowledge question stuff. When our queue gets too big, then, it's just basically if our queue gets too big, then we should be doing this instead.
Yeah, but that's see, that's a specific thing, right? But if you just said, hey, I have a tendency to make this mistake because this, and you're looking for the commonality and you're honest with yourself about like your habits, then you can combine it into one simple heuristic. I guarantee you, I've probably saved you like 15% of grief just by saying, hey, maybe you should explicitly call out the flags you want to use. So
okay, yeah, let me write that.
Do you understand how I'm trying to get you to think about these mistakes?
Essentially, it's just, okay, you got the right solution, there's the wrong solution. What was the choices I made to get the wrong solution? What are the choices that I should have made to get to the right solution?
More simply, it's about what can I do, what kind of insurance can I buy as cheaply as possible to get the maximum effect. So instead of memorizing 10 different, 10 different like problem-specific shit, I just remember, hey, whenever you have a flag, write the, call it out.
Okay, yeah.
That's me though. But again, you need to do it yourself. You need to call out your own mistakes and your own tendencies. I know, like I'm gonna have this. I'm gonna say it again. Don't rely on me to always keep catching these things. You're gonna have your own tendencies and shit, and that you need to make sure that you avoid.
Yeah, I guess it's hard finding for me at least. Not sure how to find my tendencies. I can recognize some like the mistakes I'd make, but I'm not sure like the tendencies I have to make that mistake. Then
it's look at every single mistake that you've made, and try to find one piece, one like information policy, or insurance policy that will prevent you from making that mistake again, or as many of those mistakes as possible. It's like if I look back on my mistakes, right, I'll be like, oh, I screwed up. I forgot this one step. I forgot this one step. I forgot this one step. It's like, okay, why do I keep forgetting these one little off things? What's the commonality between them? Again, like I said, it's about being honest with yourself, making sure, hey, I know I'm human. I'm going to be fallible. I'm going to make these mistakes again. What is the best insurance policy to take out? I mean, you can take out 10 very specific and expensive insurance policies, or you can take out one general one.
Yeah, I get it.
So, that's all I got for you. Anything else you got on your mind?
Other than that, nothing too much. I guess I need to get back to practicing. Yeah, interview is on Friday. It's still on. I asked the interviewer. So that's good.
Okay.
Nervous a little bit about it, but I'll be continuing the practice and with the checklist, making sure I can improve upon my brute force solution. Making sure I understand my brute force solutions first of all.
Yeah.
At least.
And make sure that checklist isn't just like a template you just follow, like it's some class. It has to be something that you actively use and want to use. That's the difference.
Okay, yeah, whenever I do the question, I just have it side by side just to...
Well, side by side is one thing. You're not going to have a side by side piece when it comes to...
Yeah, I'm not going to have a side by side.
You have to find a way to make it a habit. You have to find a way to make it a habit. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to let you practice. Let me know if you need help before Friday.
Yeah, for sure. Like, what do you mean by help? Like, just looking at the diary entries again?
Anything. Like, you say, hey, I'm screwing up on this. I can't figure it out. I keep making this mistake. I don't know why, etc., etc.
Okay.
It's like if I made the same type of... I keep making the same type of mistakes. You should be at the point where you're recognizing I make the same type of mistakes, and here's what I'm going to do to fix it, etc., etc. Or maybe all the things I'm thinking of to try and fix my mistakes aren't working.
Okay. Okay.
So, right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Everett.
All right.
Have fun.
All right. Talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later.
All right. Any questions from the crowd? Part of the exam. Is there any way to lower the Kochi's volume? Yeah. Fix the sound. Part of the example didn't provide a clear enough walkthrough. Yeah. If he literally just walked through this example as well, or just did it straight up, and just followed his own words step by step, that would have cleared up the confusion. So again, it just goes back to the same exact thing where you have if we went back to like I know for sure that I have mentioned that before. Just walk through an example, So I guarantee you, like, it should be here. Have I come with brute force? How I come solution? Yeah, test solution by examples. Like, do it explain. Yeah, so this would also be like have an example as well. Do I in the interview even understand what the fuck I'm talking about? Do an example to fix this. So I know I've mentioned this before in the past. So yeah. At this point, it's all about him, how much he wants to fix his mistakes. Because these are a lot. Everything I'm saying is I'm just repeating myself. So, all right. Do people want me to play Stray and just chill, or, otherwise I can just turn off the stream for the night. If there are any questions from people in the crowd, let me know. I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick. I'll put on some Dota if there's anything on. Talon versus Polaris for ESL 1 Malaysia. Why not? Why the hell not? Okay. Alright, I guess people aren't asking questions in the chat or interacting. I guess we can stop here. Yeah. I don't know if we'll have another stream before Friday. I'll let you guys know in the Discord. Yeah, I don't know. I'm putting it at another 50-50. Maybe he gets lucky or some shit with the interview. But, I'd rather not rely on luck. So, thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for watching. I'll let you guys know if we stream again. Otherwise, drop into my Discord. Send me an email or something. If you want to be coached, visit my website at eachhandtech.com. I have where you can book me for interview coaching. You can also see my blog there and get to know my thoughts on current events and what's happening in the tech industry. Otherwise, I'll see y'all later and have a good night.